FadeIn, presented by Carnegie Screenwriters. I'm Minda Briley, and I'm here today with Stephanie Trainer and Karl Nykwest from Cunning Folk Films. They're going to tell us what they've been doing, how they got here, and what's up next. So if you're taking notes, grab your pencils, because this is FadeIn. Hi, guests.
Hi.
So I guess we should just start at the very beginning.
Sure.
It's a very good place to start. How did you guys get into filmmaking?
Well, I wanted to be a filmmaker my whole life, since I was 12, I guess, and I started by making little short films, and then I went to college. I went to Pitt. I studied film studies here and took some classes at the Pittsburgh Filmmakers, and then I applied for film school, and I got in, and it was about a 2-year course. I made films, got a whole bunch of experience that way, and then I moved back to Pittsburgh, and I just started making my own films.
Great.
And that's where I met Karl.
Similar origin story, I suppose. Starting out at about the age of 11, 12, just with a video camera. But I think after I'd graduated from college, bounced around to a few industry jobs, which allowed me to slowly gravitate into post-production predominantly. And that was where I was working when I met Steph.
Very good. And how many projects have you guys worked on together?
We've made 2 films so far and a music video.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. And your first film was The Remedial.
So the first film that we started, it was a small practice film called Before We Go. It was a little sci-fi film where Karl came on as an editor. And then from there, we graduated to The Remedial, which is a bigger production. It's about a medium feature film, about 45 minutes. And we just completed that about 1.5 years ago.
And who's the writer on that?
I'm the writer, and Karl's the co-writer. I brought him in towards the tail end of my writing to help hone the script a little bit and the story.
Cool. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that was kind of how because initially our relationship was director-editor, and kind of after hitting it off a little bit in that arena, started looking at storytelling as a whole, and I think that was sort of how we shifted focus on your medium feature into the writing arena a little bit, yeah.
Very good. So The Remedial is it's a medium?
A medium feature.
What's the minutes on that?
About 45.
45. And so give me your like 30-second pitch. Like, what's the story on that?
So it's about a mysterious visitor who comes to an isolated farmhouse, and it's a young girl who comes to visit a farmhouse that's inhabited by a husband and wife, and she's seeking shelter, but there's a little bit more than meets the eye to her visit.
And the genre is?
I've described sort of as like
Gothic horror, I guess. Yeah,
Oh.
toned down.
Yeah.
And was it filmed here in Pittsburgh?
It was filmed in Ohio.
Ohio.
Yeah.
And it's released?
We're looking to screen it in mid-January.
Okay, and you have a trailer for us?
Yes.
So let's go ahead and have a look at the trailer for The Remedial.
Hail Mary, full of grace, Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. Hail Mary, full of grace, Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. Hail Mary, full of grace, Lord is with thee. Jesus. Blessed art thou among women. Mary, Mother of God. Jesus. Hail Mary, full of grace, Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women.
It's about that girl. I got a bad feeling about her.
You think anyone's listening to you up there?
That is a spooky and intriguing trailer. So you're hoping to screen in January, and that was your first big production together. So what did you guys learn on that production? Do you have anything you had to overcome during that production? Your first work together?
Go ahead.
For me, on that production, from a writing standpoint, don't be afraid to kill your darlings. Your best friend is the AD, always. And I suppose from the editing standpoint, always play with the order of it, because sometimes you can find interesting surprises in the order of the film.
Well, please elaborate.
Okay, well, yeah, I think there was there was one scene where, as we were writing it, there are a handful of sort of surreal, almost dream sequences where the protagonist, finds herself in bed, but something happens during the course of her getting out of bed in the middle of the night, and she ends up waking up from this. It turns out it's a dream. And we'd written it a certain way with a certain order, with this intent for each of these scenes to land a certain kind of punch. And with our lead actress, she managed to pull off such a good performance on the dream sequence that we were initially planning to, I think, land first. We ended up looking at it in post, and we were like, well, actually, this is much more powerful coming second. Where the first one is, it's not that it isn't powerful, but it doesn't have the same impact. So I think that was, yeah.
So that's a big step between screenwriting and filmmaking.
Yeah.
In that storytelling. So do you have anything to add of things you learned on set, things you?
I think when I was younger and I made films, I was very controlling over every aspect and how I wanted everything to be. And this is my first bigger scale production where I just couldn't be everywhere at once. And what that showed me is to really trust my collaborators. And I think once they see that you trust them, whether it's the art department, the DP, even the editor, I think the film takes on a different form than maybe even if it's different from what you'd envisioned, in a way it makes the film stronger and better, where everyone feels like they have their own creative input into it. And they know that you trust them with the story, and yeah.
It's the sum of the parts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very good.
I think that's what I like about working with you, though, honestly, because you're very collaborative with your approach. Yeah.
Because I've learned, I had fun with it. When I started to relinquish, I guess, the control a little bit and let people sort of really step up in their departments and show me what they had, show me their ideas, instead of me just telling me, this is what I want, just do it. And they said, well, when, people sort of showed me their ideas, and then it was much more exciting for me, and that's what I really loved about it.
That's what filmmakers do.
That's
what makes your heart sing, right?
Yeah, of course.
Great. So your second film, The Clearing.
Right, yes.
It's in the can?
No. We are shooting it in late spring next year.
You have a teaser for us?
We have a teaser, yes.
So let's take a look of their second film together, The Clearing.
Emmett, it's Annie. I was gonna drive over to your place, but I can't get the car started. Damn it, I'm losing charge on this thing really fast. I need your help. Lisa and Aiden, Tara, they're all gone. I stepped outside for a smoke. I could feel the wind, but it wasn't raining yet. I didn't even think anything of it. There were lights coming from the sky, just flashing. At first I thought it was lightning, but then I told him to stay inside, got my gun, and went to check it out. It was like a window. The sky just cracked open, and then Mr. Jack was there, only he hadn't aged. He looked just like he did the day you and I went to play in his yard. He seemed nice still. It was as if nothing had changed. Oh God, he must have done something. I came back and the house is empty. The paint is gone. The wood flooring, it's not there anymore. Emmett, it's all gone. I was just gone for a minute. Just call me maybe back when you get this.
Again, fantastic, intriguing work. I mean, I guess it's the point of a trailer, right? Or a teaser. And what's The Clearing?
Let's see. I mean, it is a science fiction film, soft science fiction film, that follows a journalist as she investigates a series of odd behaviors that have followed in the wake of this mysterious storm that has been raging over mostly West Virginia, Appalachia on the whole, for the last 5 months without stopping. And nobody seems to know what the storm is. There's an entire quarantine zone. And in the course of investigating this sort of strange psychological phenomenon, she herself wakes up one morning and she is in the woods alone and needs to figure out how to find her way home.
So these both have a very, what do we call that genre? Gothic, as you described it before, little horror, mystery in there. Would you guys say that's your go-to genre?
I think accidentally it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
I don't know. Probably this.
I can't think of anything we would be doing other than
this.
Like
something.
rom-coms or something?
We didn't. Yeah, we didn't set out to make these, but these specific genres. But whenever we started writing, somehow the stories veered into those territories. And I guess that's just sort of what interests us.
Yeah, I think that's kind
on
of
a
our
subconscious level.
I think that's kind of our preference a little bit.
Right.
Is starting with a premise maybe that is maybe more conventional, but then somewhere along like maybe the first act, it goes off the rails. I mean, that was actually
Giving a little surreal twist.
yeah,
I
a little bit of a
guess.
surreal
Right.
twist. Yeah. I mean, that was kind of what, because Stephanie had originally started the script before I had met her, and during the course of the remedial, she had told me, hey, I'm working on this feature, we seem to be working well together. Would you like to take a look and would you like to write it with me? And, of course I said yes. So I looked at it and just kind of looking at the initial first few pages, I'm kind of going, oh man, this is great. So I love this. It was very strange. It was very different. And I just thought, oh man, we can really have a lot of fun with this, So, yeah.
We did.
Cool. Finding a work partner is like,
Oh, priceless.
it's
Yeah.
like the golden
Right.
ticket. You're like,
Yeah,
I've got
absolutely.
somebody who gets me. So what would you say your influences are?
Ooh,
Screenwriters, filmmakers, genre, whatever.
I'm one of those people. I love art films. I love like Tarkovsky and the old Russian films. I love Werner Herzog is one of my favorites. He's a very eccentric filmmaker. Wim Wenders I love. We both love David Lynch. We love the surreal a little bit.
Where are you in your pre-production for The Clearing?
So we just finalized the script more or less. We assembled a great crew together. These are people we both worked with on the remedial, and we also brought on board Friendship Creative, which is a local production company. And we are getting ready for casting for the lead actor, and we'll be doing that in January.
And then production in the spring.
Production in the late spring.
Gonna get through the Pittsburgh winter.
Yes. Gotta survive. Yes.
Sure. All right. So let's cut away and have a look at the second the second teaser for The Clearing.
There is not a lot of verifiable information, as authorities are keeping most details classified while continuing the evacuation of the expanding outflow boundary. Part of what makes this phenomenon so baffling is the question of where the storm is getting its energy. While most experts are in agreement that this is meteorological or geological, opinions are still split as to why this is happening mid-continent. Typically, a storm of this size would lose its energy this far inland without the ocean to feed it. Not only is this storm not weakening, it's getting stronger.
Great. Thanks for bringing those clips in for us.
Sure.
What's next? What's after The Clearing? You got to have something in the horizon.
Well, Karl and I are working on another script at the moment. For hopefully, if this feature does well and it gets into film festivals, we're looking to make another feature after this.
Are there specific festivals you're looking at?
Oh man.
Well,
anyone that will take us.
Well, no, I think.
Beggars. Yeah. I know, right?
I mean, obviously we're going to play this by ear. We're going to start with first-tier festivals, TIFF, Tribeca. Sundance. If that does not work out, we're going down the line to our second tier, third tier festivals.
And any that are very women-centric, women-focused, we're going to aim for those as well.
Sure. There's like, I know as a filmmaker, you have X amount of dollars for festivals, and they all cost X amount of dollars, and it's you kind of have to be particular about where you submit and
tactful and
yeah. What do you find is the most difficult aspect of directing?
I think a difficult part of directing is making sure you stay true to your vision the entire way through, because a lot of things get in the way while you're on set, whether it's you're running out of time, you're running out of money. It's very easy to cut corners. And I think what I've learned is that I just have to stick to my guns with whatever I set out to do on set. And you can make exceptions for some things and stuff like that, but as long as you don't compromise what you set out to do, I think that's really important. And I make low budget films, so that means there's not a lot of time to make them, there's not a lot of money, so it's very easy for me to think, I'll just maybe settle for this. And there's been a few times where I've wanted to settle for things, but I have really great crew like Karl especially that always tell me to, make the film that you want to make.
Sure.
Yeah.
So this is Carnegie Screenwriters, so I'm going to ask you about screenwriting. Do you have any specific methodology that you use? Are there any tips or tricks?
I don't really consider myself a screenwriter per se. I just like to, usually all my scripts start with one or two images in my head, and then I'll write a little backstory about the image. And then from there I write an outline, and then I normally seek out a stronger writer to help me really flesh out the script.
And you guys obviously work well together. Do you have any issues with collaboration, or do you ever,
Yeah. Sure.
Need to duke it out about what's going to happen, or?
It's never really gotten very serious. Sometimes, your disagreements are going to happen, and I think, one of the things that I've liked about working with you is that for us, I feel like the film always comes first. So it's sort of along these lines of whatever's in the best interest of the film. And if we're disagreeing on that, then, usually we get to an answer pretty quick. I don't think we've ever gotten into anything too heated. But I think at the same time, there's also a nice level of honesty between us where it's like, I'm thinking this because this.
Right.
And, you've certainly never really come in and turn the screws on and said, no, damn it, this is what we're doing, Yeah, so, yeah,
No, we work pretty well together. We have the same interest. We have the same, I think, method for writing and stuff like that. And similar interests really help. So, yeah, we haven't had any real,
bickering.
We haven't really duked it out too badly.
Yeah,
so.
no. Yeah. Like I said, whenever we have, it's not really been a fight. It's more been like maybe a stern discussion, but
right.
It always kind of comes back to, well, what are we really trying to say here?
Right,
That sort of thing. So it kind of, I think, using that, I hesitate to say intellectual, but I'm going to, using that intellectual level is to kind of lift it away from being too personal. Like, it's not like it's, because again, it's not about you, it's about your movie,
Sure.
So, yeah.
I know that collaboration with writing can be complex, to say the least, and you risk losing the voice of the story.
Right.
But you guys seem to get that gel.
Yeah, I think
We really do. I've been really lucky in terms of meeting Karl, actually, because I moved back to Pittsburgh after many years away, and I didn't know anyone in the Pittsburgh film scene or anything like that, and I just put out an ad for people to help me with this short film, and Karl was one of the people to answer it as an editor, and once we got into the editing room and started talking, we realized we had similar interests, and we just got along so well, and we wanted to tell the same kind of stories, so yeah, I feel really lucky to have met Karl and as my collaborating partner.
Same here, yeah. I mean, I think kind of going off that and answering a little before you asked a question about methodology, I think something that we've always practiced as well is giving each other some space. I mean, when, Steph didn't give me the clearing until she was like, I've kind of hit here, I'm not really sure where to go from here, but I've done this, these are the things I like. So when I hit the script and I start writing it, I'm looking at it and I'm finding the voice of the film and I'm trying to listen to it and kind of feel out, like find the scenes that are really impactful to me and kind of build off of that, and not necessarily go in and try to, take a wrecking ball to anything, but like sort of build off of what's working, I think. And that's sort of, I think, how we've played it so far is sort of, I'll take it for a little bit, she'll take it for a little bit. Because we're the kind of people where if we're sitting down together, nothing gets done. No, it's we're too chatty. It's like, it's better if we're alone in like a dark room working on it. And then it's like, okay, this is ready now. Let's talk about it.
Baton. Here you go.
Yeah, handing off the baton.
Next
And
line,
I think maybe talking a little bit over as like once one of us is finished, it's like we sit and we talk about it, and
give
then
your
it's
thoughts and then,
then we kind of do feedback and
Right.
Right? I mean, that's what screenwriters want to know is kind of how are you doing it and how should I be doing it?
Right.
And do you break any rules in your screenwriting?
I don't doubt it. we've got to be breaking rules. I mean, I kind of came into screenwriting backwards. I don't have like any kind of formal training in it or anything like that. But
You have a distinct eye for story as an editor.
Yes.
How does that play into your screenwriting? Do you feel that?
I'm always listening to it as I'm writing it, like the lines, feeling how they land, that sort of thing. If it sounds natural to me when I'm reading it, that's usually a good starting place. I don't, because dialogue can really sound clunky sometimes. I think, one of the things that I'll kind of approach it with is just sort of like listening to it, trying to imagine it with beats, and something that you've helped me with as a director and coming into it with that perspective is, well, what are they doing right now? They're not just like as you said in the one note you gave me the one time. It sort of seems like they're sitting down to a conversation over a cup of tea right now. Maybe they should be moving a little bit more. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. This is too clunky. It's too blocky. So trying to look at it in a way that seems like it's going to flow a little bit, I think, and just kind of just reading aloud is always good, and just listening to it, constantly listening to it, and just trying to listen to the voice of the person that's talking, not your voice,
What advice would you guys give to screenwriters or filmmakers who are looking to start production or just start their first screenplay?
I think the advice I'd give is don't be afraid of just to do it, just to take the chance. I think everyone has a story to tell. And there aren't stories that are more important than others. I think if there's something that you want to share with the world, you should just go for it.
Getting feedback is really important, especially from the screenwriting phase, because you can go into it and I think, other people aren't your enemy. They're not out to like get you and destroy your script.
Steal your script.
Or steal your script. Yeah, that's another one. Like trust me, most people I think have their own ideas and they're not, I try to put myself in those shoes. It's like if somebody came to me with a script, it's like, oh, this is great, it's mine now. Like we're not gonna be like, we wouldn't. I don't think either you or I would look at it like that, and I think most people wouldn't either. Like they're not out to steal other people's screenplays. So
No, fresh eyes are invaluable. Invaluable, and it's great that you guys can hand it back and forth and cultivate it that way.
Right.
I mean,
we lucked out. Yeah.
That's pretty rare in the film industry because most writers are like, I just imagine myself as like this curmudgeonly old thing over a typewriter.
I think it's easy to be curmudgeon-y when you write.
Of course.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm talking as an editor too, because I'm also like editors are like very salty people. It's like you just kind of sit in your cave and just like grumble over like minute details. So it is easy, I think, to kind of get stingy. But
of course.
I mean, I don't know what your experience with that has been. As far as sharing?
Oh, I'm pretty open to sharing.
Yeah.
I like getting feedback and hearing other people's thoughts on what can be strengthened, what should be taken out, and stuff like that.
I mean, how you before we met, how did you decide who you shared your scripts with necessarily, or
It was just whoever I had a really good rapport with in life, and whose ever kind of way of living I respected, and whoever I thought had an intelligent approach to life. They didn't need to be filmmakers, just people that that I could sense were intuitive and very open and non-judgmental. Hard to find, but I found a few. Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah.
And you, I mean, who did you?
Always who did I turn to with any of my writing or anything like that? Always my wife. She's got a very good eye, and she is very smart, and also not afraid of throwing me criticism when she's like, Karl, you can just do way better than this. I've seen it, And it's, I think a big thing is any kind of creative person is you kind of got to get over yourself and just say, yeah, well, you know what? If somebody's criticizing you, and maybe you should think about it. I mean, yeah, sometimes you're going to get criticism that's like, well, no, I don't agree with that, and I don't think that's right, but you should also be listening too. I think that's important.
Listening is key for a filmmaker, isn't it? Yeah. So how can our viewers find you on social media?
We have an Instagram account, Cunning Folk Films, and we also have a website for The Clearing at theclearingfilm.net.
Great. We can keep in touch.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming down to film with us
Yeah,
today.
thanks for having us.
And we would love to have you guys on a meeting for Carnegie Screenwriters.
sure, yeah,
If you want to
absolutely.
come and see what kind of madness we do there.
Definitely, yeah. Sounds great.
Thank you. So there you have it, another episode of Carnegie Screenwriters FadeIn. I'm Minda Briley. Thanks so much.